Well, good morning, everyone. Today, Dina is back to share some of her dreams and something very exciting. So, if y'all watched my last video, I shared a dream that I found this week from 15 years ago, and it has to do with everything that's going on right now. And if you don't think that's crazy enough, and in the very day, 15 years ago, from the day that I found it, I'm telling y'all cannot make this stuff up. Last night, Dina was going through her dreams because she knew she was coming over here to share her dreams. She found a dream from the same week having to do with the president mentioned in the dream from 2006. We had both forgot about our dreams until we come across them. So she's going to share that dream. And I am literally myself blown away. She called me last night, was reading this dream to me, and I'm like, Lord Jesus. So anyway, Dina, go ahead and start sharing your dreams.
Okay. So I'll start with, when Susan called me or told me yesterday that she wanted me to come over today and share my dreams, I was like, I know I've got some more notebooks somewhere. So my husband and I, about 4 years ago, took care of his mom. She had dementia, so she was bedridden. So we pretty much had given her our room, and we moved into our guest room. So I have stuff when we were moving out of our room, that I just kind of stacked everywhere. So anyway, we in our living room we have a coffee table, and it has drawers in it. And last night when I was looking for notebooks, I thought, I wonder if I put any notebooks in that coffee table, because that would be like me, because I'm that way. I'll just I'm just going to stick this in here. Here's a notebook. I'm cleaning the house. So anyway, I was looking through there, and I keep mainly pictures and stuff in there. But I saw at the very bottom that there was a notebook in there. I'm like, And I immediately have this thought. I was supposed to find this notebook tonight. So I thought, I'm sure I'm going to find something in there that I'm supposed to share tomorrow with the dreams.
Do you have the date on? Oh, yes. She has the date on here. So I'm going to show y'all how she's like me. She journals her dreams.
And it even says it even not only has the date, but it says what. And I didn't even go back to look that up, but I'm sure that was Friday night.
10/13/2006. Mine was from 10/20/2006, and hers was on a Friday night. So
I have even written down Friday night, because I'll do that sometimes. I'll just not only write the date, but I'll put the day or the night of, it might have been the next morning.
And I told y'all in the last thing, now we did not plan this, but I told y'all in the last thing how God has, over the years since we were children, has given us sometimes almost identical dream, or at least it's like a puzzle piece fitting together. Since we were children, We've done this.
So anyway, I dreamed that I was pushing my two boys, who were 3 and probably 8 or 9 at the time, in a stroller. So probably my older one was walking beside me. But anyway, my dream, I said I was pushing them in a stroller. I don't even remember this dream, but this is what I have written down on this road. And I was so tired, which at that time my baby was 3, so you can understand why I would be tired. And somehow the stroller must have tipped over, because my two boys were hanging onto the side of the highway, and we were up on a hill, and so I was trying to pull them up. So something must have happened, that I just lost control of them, which kind of during this time, looking back now, I see. Well, I'll go through that later.
Well, Dina was a loan officer, and I'm telling you, if a person was busy, this girl probably did 4 people's job. That's how busy she was. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, it was very stressful times. Anyway, so I pulled them up, and then this lady comes up to me, and she takes me to a place, and I don't know, because that's all I put in the dream, that she takes me to this place, and she's going to give me some kind of medicine, or she's going to do something to my blood, give me some strength and some energy, because I was just so exhausted. And anyway, I'm sitting on this chair, or I'm sitting on a chair, or on a bench or something. And I look down, and I have these gloves on my hands, and they say Trump Plaza on them. And then I look up, and Donald Trump is sitting beside me. And about this time, Susan walks up to me, and she tells me that I need to save these gloves because they're from Trump Plaza. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to get the gloves autographed by Trump because he was sitting here beside me. But at this point in my life, and even in this dream, and y'all have to remember in 2006, that was when Trump was doing that show that he
Apprenticeship.
did. The Apprenticeship.
The
And I really
yeah.
didn't watch it that way. He really kind of irritated me because I thought he was, kind of
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't really
kind of egotistical a little bit. Yeah, so confident.
Even in my dream, I was like, I'm not impressed with him. I don't even really know if I want his autograph.
Right.
But I was so tired. I just remember feeling so tired in this dream. And then the dream kind of shifts. And I am someplace else, and I see these people in this room, and there's all these different people, and they're in a room, and they keep answering the phone, and I knew it had something to do with politics, like they were like in some kind of room.
Oh my gosh!
And they're answering these phones, and I can't remember anything else other than this room that they were in, and these phones they were answering, it all had to do with politics.
It's crazy.
Anyway, so I woke up after that.
Y'all.
So that was crazy. So this morning, so I kept thinking about the gloves, and I'm like, I know the gloves was really kind of that was kind of like
something that stood out to you so much.
Something that really stood out was about the gloves. And so in this last night, I kept hearing this phrase, taking off the kids' gloves. Taking off kids' gloves. And I'm like, I'm going to have to look what that means, or, take. So this morning I looked up the meaning of to take the gloves off.
Yeah.
And it means to start fighting or competing in hand combat in order to achieve something.
Wow.
They also always use this phrase during politics when it kind of gets to the end where they're taking off the gloves.
Oh my gosh.
And that means they're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty and things are fixing to get crazy.
It did get a little crazy too.
And also the meaning of the handling with kid gloves is to take special consideration, to treat something very carefully.
Wow.
And it also means having to do with getting down with unfinished business. Something that hasn't been finished.
Very interesting.
So I just thought, because that was what came in my head this morning about taking off the gloves or something about the gloves.
Yeah.
And I felt like that the beginning of the dream with me pushing my sons, it was kind of like things in my life. I was like walking in the park. It was just like I was going about my everyday life. Things were kind of normal.
Right.
Nothing was, and all of a sudden,
everything
shifted because my boys tipped over, and I was like having to,
kind of how the world
I felt like I was going to have to
when Trump came on the scene.
Them. Things were going to be different now. Yeah. I had to have some kind of transfusion. I had to have something that changed me because I couldn't handle what was coming.
Which is what happened
Which is exactly what happened. And then that's when Trump, in my dream, kind of came on the scene.
Wow.
Which this was in 2006. So who would have known in 2006 other than God?
And so this was my dream, 10/20/06. And I shared it in my last video. But for those that didn't see it, I'm going to share it real quick. And then she's going to share some more dreams. Because I just think that having these dreams together on the same video is going to be pretty important. It's kind of cool.
It really is.
So I found this dream the same day that I had the dream 15 years ago. And 10 represents divine order, government, and 5 is a number of grace. Government being set in order, the law, government set in order. Okay, so I dreamed last night that I walked into this motel and it had the presidential seal rug. Well, we all know that Trump right now is in Florida. I think it's Mar-a-Lago. And that White House, I even put the link in it in my, if you go watch my video, if you go look in the comment section, the section of the details, I put a link in it in the, I think it was in the 40s or 20s or something. The lady that owned that always wanted it to be a winter White House. And then Trump bought it and redid it and called it a winter White House. I know I did a little research on that. So you can go read that about that. So anyway, the presidential seal rug that stood out to me at the motel. The motel was beautiful and once spectacular, but was very, I said old looking, but what I was talking about, it was decorated not like the modern way, but like just exactly like Mar-a-Lago with the gold on it, the columns. That's exactly Trump's style in that the way that's all decorated. It's kind of the old school, kingly, whatever. To me, it really needed to be updated. Even the coloring seemed different. Big columns. It was really majestic. It was just dated. The theme was just the old school. I was getting a room to stay at this motel. I had a job there, not sure what it was. Also, I had friends and co-workers with me at times in the dreams. One of the co-workers was a murderer, someone that had infiltrated, but I didn't know it at the time. She was trying to kill someone. This is what I put in here. Maybe the president. Not sure. But I must have found out about her. And then when she knew that I found out about her, she shot me. I fell out on the floor and I pretended that I was dead, but I was not actually dead. She did shoot me, but I was not hurt in the least. But a lot of people ran up to me to help me. And the main lady from the motel, I looked at her and put my finger to my mouth like, shh, to be quiet, to indicate that I was really okay, but I did not want the murderer to find out that I really was not dead. So she shook her head knowingly like, gotcha. When the lady who shot me came over to make sure I was dead, she like kicked me to make sure that I was dead. But no one actually in there, none of the people around knew that she was the one who shot me. I was the only one that knew. So she thought I was dead. So she didn't let anyone see her. She was actually a hidden murderer. She was like an infiltrator, hiding her identity. But I knew her. So she also had a couple of friends who was also my friends. I told them eventually I was really alive, but we must not let her know. So everyone helped to hide me for a long time. She thought I was dead. Every time she would come around, which was a lot because we were then at some kind of school together. So we started out like at a motel, then we were work, and then we were school. So it was like 3-part process. So I would always hide or disguise myself so she would not recognize me. But finally, one day came when we came face to face with each other, and she realized I was still alive. I got away from her, but knew she had to that she would have to try to kill me because I knew she was really a murderer. I knew who she really was, and I wanted to expose her for who she was. She wanted me dead, and I wanted her exposed and turned into the authorities. So what I felt that meant is exactly where our country is. Lots of things are getting exposed now. The church has been praying for at least 8 or 9 months about things that we know that a lot of evil that's happened in this country, actually even beginning with the coronavirus. I think a lot of that, yes, it's a real thing, but I think a lot of it has been used as a political tool, a political weapon against people. Right. But anyway, this whole year, the church has been praying, but things are getting exposed, and it's like an evil infiltrator, which I said in my last video, if you watch it, that's the devil. It's that Jezebel spirit that's coming against the church, and she now is face to face because she's being exposed, and it's like a showdown, kind of like Dina's dream she shared last time about the two samurai woman. Yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna let Dina take it from here, but I thought it would be really awesome to have that dream with hers amazing. Back to back, because y'all, we had those dreams the same week. They have the same theme. And I know in 2006, I had not a single thought about Trump. I didn't even know there was a such thing as a winter White House, something that was a winter White House. Seeing a hotel motel thing with a presidential seal. This is just it's too much. Everything in that dream is what we've been going through this last couple of year and a half or so. Right. Anyway, go ahead, Dina.
Yeah, because like you said, in 2006, I was not even involved in politics hardly at all.
Right.
I mean, I'm still really
interested,
not,
but
other than praying and stuff.
Right.
But I had young children, and trust me, my youngest one was a mess.
Yeah.
So my whole life was consumed with work and my kids. So one of the other things though that I wanted to say about this dream was I felt like kind of this time, which, I was just so caught up in my life and things going, that we didn't even realize the shifting of things that was about to happen. So this was like at the end of 2006. And
I think George Bush was president then?
I think so. And I haven't even really found any of my 2007 dreams. But I did come across some of, because like I said, they're probably in a notebook somewhere else, that who knows where. Anyway, but I brought some dreams that I had in 2008. So 2008 was a very interesting year for me, and even for Susan, and I know for everyone, because I was in the mortgage industry.
Crazy.
And that is when everything kind of started falling. So, and it was just a new era. So I kind of wanted to share some dreams that God gave me that year, kind of warning me, before stuff happened. And then I didn't really understand it. And then when I look back after they happened, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what you were showing me.
Yeah.
So the first dream I wanted to share was something that happened in 2008, and it happened when there was a lot of stuff going on at my job. This is kind of when things started changing in the mortgage industry. So I dreamed that I was driving an 18-wheeler. I don't know why an 18-wheeler, because I would never drive an 18-wheeler. But I think it was just to show how things were
Well, it's a vehicle. It's a vehicle.
It's a vehicle that I would have no control over. Like, absolutely no control over. And so that's how it was at this time in the mortgage industry. So many things were happening. And my whole life was literally changing. And it was going to be transformed. I mean, it was just going to be different. So I'm driving this 18-wheeler, which is bad enough that I'm driving an 18-wheeler. But I'm driving it in
Dina doesn't even drive a small car well. She's
No, me and vehicles are not a good combination. But I'm driving it in reverse.
Oh, gosh.
On an interstate.
Oh, gosh.
And it's curvy.
Lord Jesus.
And I am going at full speed.
Oh, Lord.
And so I'm in this 18-wheeler, and I can't make it stop.
That would be a scary dream.
I cannot make it slow down. It is going so fast, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm going in reverse, and I'm turning, and I don't know how that I'm making all these turns, but I'm just going, and I have absolutely no control.
That's crazy.
Over anything that's happening.
Reverse.
And I come up on this turn, which is going up. And as I'm going up at full speed, in reverse, in an 18-wheeler, it comes off the road. And it flies. And I feel myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm crashing. I'm about to crash. I'm about to crash. And there's nothing I can do about it. I don't know if I'm going to survive the crash or what's going to happen. But I crash. And I'm thrown out of the truck. And this kind of involves you, Susan. Oh. So I land in this place, and it's off the interstate, but it's like a hill, and it's kind of hidden, like no one would see it from the road, because even though it was on a curve, and you wouldn't really see anything if something had happened over there, just because of where it was at. It was kind of like a hidden place. So I'm thrown off, and I go sailing, and I land. Like I said, I'm rolling. I throw them out of the truck. And I roll over, and I'm just like thankful, that I'm alive. And all of a sudden I realize that there's someone beside me. And I turn over, and I see this lady, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had not had this wreck and this had not happened, no one would have seen this person. She would have not survived. No one would have known she was here. And so I turn over, and I look at her, and about that time she turns her face, and it's my sister. And I just start bawling. I go into intercession travail. So any of you people that know about praying and interceding, I literally go into intercession when I see my sister, and then I wake up. And so that dream, which I know I had to have it at the beginning of 2008. I don't have it written down. I just remember. So that year, what kind of had happened is, that's when the mortgage industry crashed. My job, I literally lost my job. I lost everything.
Her
as
and her
far as
husband both lost their
we
jobs.
both had to file bankruptcy. We lost a lot of stuff. He was actually in the not the trucking. Well, he was kind of in the trucking industry.
Right, he was driving a
He
truck.
was a driver, not for an 18-wheeler. But
I think an 18-wheeler represents something so big it affected like so many people.
Right.
That's, yeah,
It
not
was,
just a small truck, but it was like a multi.
It was an 18-wheeler.
It affected the whole country.
It did. It was so. It affected a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
that's when I went through a divorce.
My sister went through a divorce at that time
from my husband that I'm remarried to now.
Right. And she actually had moved in with me for a short period of time.
It was devastating.
So
season.
it was like we kind of were brought together, but God, it was like we knew that we helped each other because financially my husband and I were not working. We didn't have a job. And then Susan was able to come in.
Just become a real estate agent.
She had just become a real estate agent, which was not a good timing.
No, but I was actually doing really well. I was actually, believe it or not, God bless me. I was like having a closing literally every month, which is crazy for that season. I didn't even know as a new realtor that was a good thing because I thought you would have one like every week. I mean, if you've never done it before, you don't know this, you know, but God,
season.
Yeah.
But it was like he just kind of brought us together to help each other and kind of through that difficult time. So that was just kind of amazing. And I don't even think I shared that dream with my sister or anyone at first because it so grieved me seeing her in that place. I didn't understand what that meant. And I was like, I couldn't even wrap my head around what did this mean until everything kind of happened. And then I think I shared it later with y'all. Yeah. But I had it months before anything happened. And it was like, it was so.
One thing I will share about dreams that I have learned over the years is when God wants you to pray about something, your dream will be like 10 times more intense than actually something probably will be. Right. But it's really, I believe that God does that to get our attention, and it's our spirit realm, in our spirit man that gets the dream, you know. So our natural man, I'm pretty dramatic as it is, but like your spirit man, imagine me experiencing a dream 10 times more than my natural drama self. That's how it affects you. And so I think the Lord does that to get our attention. Right. To like, okay, this is important. You know?
And unfortunately, which I did pray during that time, but I didn't really, I was really kind of new. I had actually just started writing down my dreams that year. So I didn't really understand a lot of the stuff about I knew God was showing me that. And I knew it because it was so heavy and such, like you said, it was so passionate. It was so intense. Right, yeah. That, but I didn't really know what all, that I should have been praying a little bit more through the meaning of the dream. Okay, so then later on in that year, I dreamed, and I have it written down, but I may not have marked it. Anyway, I'll remember it, so I'll just go ahead and tell it. So this happened before Obama was elected for president. So this was kind of during that election year. And I dreamed that me and Susan were in love with these two black boys. And they're both of them was named Will.
Was it Idris Elba?
Yeah.
Whatever his name is.
But it wasn't, it was just they were both nice looking and we were in love with them. And they were both black men. But both of them were named Will.
Interesting.
And both of their names were Will.
Will.
So, So, we were trying to figure out if we were going to marry them or whatever. And one of the Wills, I don't know if it was your will, Susan. It wasn't my will, so it was your will. was going to be taking a trip on a boat, and he was going to be going across this water, crossing from this side to another side of the place we were at. And there was this, when I was doing mortgage loans, there was a company that we wrote a lot of loans through. It was called Countrywide. And our representative from Countrywide was in the boat with your will.
Oh, great.
Well, but in my dream, it wasn't my will. It was the Countrywide will.
Oh,
interesting. And so this will was going, he was in the boat with the Countrywide representative, and they were crossing over to the other side. But I was still with my will. And at the end of the dream, I was going to go ahead and marry my will. And the guy, the preacher that was marrying us looked so staunch and so self-righteous. Like an older
religious
politician, gray-headed politician, that's just has been so set in their ways. Even a religious person, an older religious person that is no longer, it's religion.
They're just dead.
It's politics. It's the Pharisaical. It was a Pharisaical person.
Yeah.
I mean, that was who was, but I was going to marry my will. But after I woke up, I knew at this point that this dream represented that the two wheels, even though they were both black, represented President Obama was going to be chosen for president, because this is before he was elected. This was the early part of 2008 when he was running, but we didn't know he was going to be elected. But yet in my dream, I knew that the countrywide wheel
With him in office.
That was going to put him in office. But I'll be honest, and I was torn about voting for him. And I almost did vote for him.
And then I had that dream.
But my sister had a dream, and so it kind of like shook me up. And so I didn't vote for him. But I even though I didn't vote for him, I knew that he would still be president. But honestly, the person that I voted for, which y'all know, the first
was no better.
Was no better. It was really just the same, just a different. It was the same evil. One was more Pharisaical, religious,
was that
old
John
school,
McCain, right?
So neither one of them really mattered.
Really,
but it was still the country's desire for this other thing to happen, and I actually believe it was God's will too.
God allowed it.
He allowed it because there was a lot of things that changed for the good, and a lot of things for the bad later. But the beginning of the good was, I think it was a lot of people healed. A lot of people were healed to the point that they realized a black man can be president, and it was wonderful. It was a good. Yeah, I do too. We celebrated, even though I didn't vote for him. I was like excited. I was proud. I was happy, and so that part of the presidency was a good thing for our country.
Well, it's never really the person, it's the demonic spirit that tries to drive. And if people don't understand the things of the Lord, they're going to be driven by that demon. We all can be driven by demons at times. It's just an influential thing, right?
And had Obama, kind of conform to God's will, it could have even been different. It could have been so amazing.
Anybody,
any of us, Anytime you conform, anytime you don't try to do God's will, you're going to get off. Anyway, but
I think most of the presidents are bought and sold by the people around them anyway.
Nothing to do.
Most of them have very little control.
Yeah, it has really nothing to do with what party. So that wasn't even about party. That was just about God showing me through a dream who was going to be elected. It was the will of the country, and that's what was going to happen. And I could go with the will of the country, or I could choose my own will, which I did. In my dream, I chose my own will, which really wasn't any better. So there you go. That's kind of what the dream was about. So the next dream I was going to share was also during that same year. So this was in 2008. And Susan, at this point, was living with me and my husband. And she lived with us for about 6 months. From February or March to November. Yeah. So
Bobby and I got remarried.
However many months that is, 6, 7, 8 months. Anyway, she lived with us. So during the time that she lived with us, this is when the Florida revival with Todd Bentley was going on. I think it started like in April or May or something of that year. But before it started, I had this other dream. And I couldn't find it, but I also remember what it was about, because it was one of those kind of dreams that you don't forget. So in my dream, this is one of the dreams I actually was translated. You've shared how God has actually translated me. But it was like I was dreaming, but it was so much more real than a dream. That's why I know my spiritual person was actually translated, because that's how it felt in my dream. So I'm in my dream, I'm asleep, and I know I'm asleep, and all of a sudden I feel myself coming up out of my body, and I start soaring, And I am so scared because I am soaring so high in the sky, in the cloud. I mean, above this into the sky. And I'm going high. I'm going up, 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 up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I going? Where am I going? I'm not going to be able to get back to my body. I mean, I'm just going up so high. And all of a sudden, I see this place. And in my dream, I didn't know what it was. It was just like I see the outline of this place, and I thought in my dream I was on another planet, y'all. That's how I had soared. So I felt so high. I thought I had landed on another planet, and I was so scared because I'm on another planet. Like literally, I feel like I am really there, y'all. This does not feel like a dream. That's why I know I was actually translated by the Spirit, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I am on another planet. I will never get back to Earth. How am I going to get back to Earth? How did I get here? But on this other planet, which I thought, I find myself, I go into this, I'm in
another
this
dimension
room.
Is where she was at.
Right. I go into this room, and there's this platform, and there's these people up there, and they're praying on this platform. And so I know I'm supposed to be part of these people. So I go and I walk up on this platform, and I'm like praying, and I'm interceding. And I don't understand why I'm doing this, but I am in this place, and I'm just praying and interceding. And there's like this white lattice, and it's like, seems like the platform was like green. I don't know, but anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm in this room. I'm in an intercession room. And so we're praying and we're interceding. I don't know what for, but that's what I'm doing. Well, then the next part of the dream kind of shifts. And I'm like in this room, kind of like I'm at a motel or something. And I'm
Mar-a-Lago, wasn't
no,
it?
It wasn't Mar-a-Lago, but I'm staying in this room at this house. I'm somewhere. I'm in a place, and there's like a glass window, or almost like a French door, but it's all glass. And I'm looking out, and I have this little dog with me, which I thought was kind of strange. There's a little dog in the room with me. I mean, he wasn't violent or anything. And I look out, but there's these big dogs that's starting to come up. And they're going to come up. And so I know I've got to keep them out of this room that I'm in. And anyway, so these big dogs come up, and they're kind of taking control over stuff. And then my dream shifts again, and I'm walking. So I had got out of this place, and I had gotten away from these big dogs. I had left the place that I was at, and I'm walking just kind of like outside, and I'm with this young person, or this young girl, and she says, "Did you hear about the explosion on the island?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't hear about any explosion." She was like, "Yes, there was a big explosion that happened on this place that we were at." And I was like, "Wow, that's interesting." It was like just some kind of destruction had happened, and everything had exploded. And anyway, I was like, "No, I didn't hear about that." And then I woke up, and y'all, I was so thankful to wake up because I was back in my body, and I was not on that other planet.
You were going to make it back.
I was not on that other planet.
It is very interesting.
But after I woke up, I could remember the shape of what that place was that I landed at. And I'm like, oh, that looked like Florida. So and then later on, and it was just a few months later, is when the Lakeland revival started. And during that revival, y'all, my sister and I literally interceded every night. We prayed and we interceded for the move of God, and there was a lot of wonderful things that happened in that revival. I mean,
countrywide.
It was a country. People were coming from all over the world and being delivered and set free, and it was amazing revival. And I know God was wanting to start.
The bigger
something.
picture was better than the little the one. Like the thing that happened with Todd Bentley, there was a little dog compared to the big picture of people being delivered, getting salvation.
Right.
And then the big dog stepped in and kind of everything.
Kind of what happened in that revival is things were going, and there was some stuff
for
going
months.
On. Right. Yeah. But all of a sudden,
and he was wrong, but still,
there was some things that happened that wasn't right. But religion kind of stepped in
Right.
and wanted to take the reins, which was what the big dogs came down. And I don't have to go into any of it, but
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Everything got destroyed, just like in my dream. When the little girl was like, "Did you hear about the destruction? Did you hear about the the explosion that happened?" So that whole move that God was trying to start or wanted to start, but people, we still have our will. We still don't always have to follow what God wants to do.
Right.
It just kind of stopped it. It ended, and everything broke. And
anyway, it was an explosion at the end.
It was an explosion. It just kind of, everything just kind of blew up. But that was a dream that I had from '08, which I thought was interesting.
Do you have any more quick ones maybe, or not? You have time to share one more maybe?
Let me see. I mean, I have some. Let me see if I can find. I had one that I had marked. But I don't know if y'all just have to realize these notebooks. Okay, so here's one that I had in February of 2008 of that same year. So I dreamed I was talking to the leaders of churches, and I never had seen them, and I just knew I never knew who they were. I just knew I was talking to them, and I was telling them that we need to get a warning to the people that Jesus is coming. The churches were supposed to be sending out warnings, but I knew that they were not. And the people, because the way the people were reacting to me, this group, they were just kind of like looking at me like, okay, they were not really hearing what I was saying. They didn't really feel the intensity of the warning that I was telling them. And I just knew they were not hearing. Then I was speaking to this man, and I knew he was a pastor, and he told me that God had told him that it was time to rebuild his house.
Wow.
And that the building was going to be the measurements of 700 times 7.
Oh, I remember that.
And he was about to start rebuilding.
Wow.
And so this was in 2008.
Wow. That's very interesting.
Yeah. And then I wrote down, y'all, at the bottom of my dream, I wrote down the scripture that God gave me, Psalms 55:5, which is kind of amazing. We are summoning nations with our intercessions.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yes. So I believe that God was, and this was kind of when all of this was happening, God at the beginning of '08 was saying that the church needs to warn people. They need to tell people that I'm coming and it's time to rebuild. It's time for things to be changed. Right. So anyway, that was kind of amazing. So.
Okay, well, is that it? Any thoughts you want to say, add to it?
I mean, I don't think so. I just think that kind of was when that was a shift in our country that started, and then of course we know we're in another shift. Right. But that was really, I believe, the beginning of this new era. It was like it was kind of beginning.
The birthing.
It was the birthing of it. It was one of the beginning birth pains of this new era.
Of the third great awakening.
Right.
They've talked about that for years.
Right.
Okay, well, y'all, thank y'all so much for watching our videos. We love you. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.